Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on weird and true mysterious stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Would you like even more content? Here's my Patreon. Now onto the stories. Case file number 1253, written by 30%crunchy. My mind was mystified on the beach. When I was 9 or maybe 10 years old, we went on a beach vacation with our extended family. This was right at the start of the trip, and I was playing in the waves with my glasses on, and of course, a big wave crashed down on me and my glasses were gone. I was absolutely devastated, both because I was afraid my parents would be furious. I wasn't supposed to be playing in the water with my glasses on unless I wore this big ugly floatable glasses strap that I hated, but also because I have awful vision and I'm essentially blind without my glasses. I made my way back to my parents and told them what happened. We were vacationing on an island that was pretty rustic, no commercial stores on the island, and the mainland was several hours away by ferry. My poor mom spent the rest of her day attempting to make calls to my eye doctor to try to get a new pair of glasses somehow made and sent somewhere relatively close to us, which would still take the better part of a week and be pretty expensive to do. This was the 90s and we weren't able to easily order a new pair like we might be able to do so today. I had just about accepted the fact that I'd have to spend the rest of our trip more or less blind, when the next day at the beach, my uncle, who was surfing, reached down into the knee-deep water and pulled my glasses out of the sand. None of us could believe it. This beach is known for its rough tides, and we weren't even sure we were on the same part of the beach as we were the day before. My uncle absolutely saved me from spending the whole trip completely unable to see. Still to this day, the craziest and luckiest thing that has ever happened to me. Case notes of file 1253. My mind was mystified on the beach. This reminds me of the ring story from a while ago. A husband was in the deep ocean swimming, I think as part of a cruise expedition if I recall. His wedding ring slipped off his finger, sinking deep into the ocean. Without scuba gear, it'd be impossible to retrieve it. Then back home, months or years later, the ring was on the bathroom sink. Mind-blowing. Now tell me, with events like that happening, is there any doubt that there are forces involved that try to help us? I don't think this is some accidental glitch in the sense that the universe just despawned the ring and then put it back exactly there randomly. No. They can't fix all of our lives or go to work for us if it's angels or something, but I think some people at least do have some guardian angels looking out for them. Now, if this is angels from God or employees in the server room where we're jacked into the simulation from, who can say? I can't. All I can say is, we aren't as alone as it may appear, and there's probably someone watching out for you, in some way. Doesn't mean all your problems are going to be solved by them, but in certain circumstances, you may receive help. Very comforting. Creepy file number 110, written by Mulberry Strange. The spine-chilling silence of the deep woods. When I was young, 9, give or take a year or two, I habitually spent time walking the railroads to get to the woods behind our property. I loved spending time there and knew the area very well. On one particular evening, though, that changed. I had been wandering around gathering random things to bring back to my fort, a larger tree with railroad spikes for climbing that I had found, and I realized it was getting dark fast. I had stayed out too late and now risked the wrath of my parents. As I made my way back, it was getting more dark than it normally does. Storm, maybe. I had no light source, and as night hit hard, the woods looked different, of course. But I suddenly felt like I didn't know the landmarks that normally guided me home. As I stood there, I realized there was no noise, no wind, no insects, no animals. I had never experienced that before. I knew my directions at least, and kept heading in the same direction, and I finally hit the tracks. Pitch black and dead silent, I was unnerved in an extreme way. About halfway down the tracks towards the road, I heard a growl and something massive moving in the bushline. Fear lent me wings as I ran harder than I thought possible. The world was a blur of horror as the rustling seemed to follow behind me all the way to the road. I sprinted the rest of the way home. I walked in, not caring about what punishment awaited me. My parents were stern, but when they saw me, white as a ghost and shaking and out of breath, even they softened. I have no idea what was out there that night. Case notes for the creepy file number 110. The spine-chilling silence of the deep woods. So I could see this being a mountain lion or other beast. It would explain the silence, as prey animals clear out fast in the presence of danger. No insects though, that part is odd, and no wind too. Could be another layer of coincidence, just wind drops down as the night falls. All that said, I do believe there are times when we're alone, far away from others, that the fundamental server infrastructure has less processing capacity allocated to that particular area. This can lead to anomalies and glitches, could lend towards the lack of noise too. And I mean, we do see this is a technique used right now in MMORPGs where, given a certain area, there's grids or server clusters, and if a lot of people are in one, then there's more server capacity allocated to that area to process it. If you're just one person alone in a faraway system, there's very little processing power needed. Well, supposedly needed. Sometimes it could lead to issues where there's just not enough, where there's some other action that was needed, and for you it looks like a glitch, like in this case. Also, the wrath of your parents. That's a funny way to put it. My parents were strict too in terms of getting back home too late when I was growing up, but they were understanding. I never had any horror situations as this one, but growing up I did have a lot of situations where I hurt myself. Falling from trees, bruises, a few broken bones, jumping across ravines, tick bites, poison ivy. Oh man, somehow I got poison ivy every other month. Part of childhood exploration I do not miss.
Bonus file written by DL33T3D, the demon that killed physics. I didn't believe in ghosts, demons, or anything before this. I am a very scientific and logic-based person, yet this scared the crap out of me. My fiancé and I had rented a house together. There were Tibetan prayer flags hanging outside. Everything was cool for about a month until we cut them down. The first instance was not anything crazy. She, a devout Catholic, had hung a crucifix on her bedroom door. Nothing weird ever happened in that bedroom. We would wake up in the morning and find small figurines on the shelf turned backwards, and one day found them broken. It was only weird. Around Christmas, she traveled back east, and I was at the house by myself. There was a halfway connecting the two bedrooms with a bathroom in the middle. Opposite the bathroom door was the entry to the living room, and to the spare bedroom side was the kitchen. I was in the spare bedroom, my office, playing games until I got tired. All the lights in the house were off, and when I walked out of the room into the hallway, after one step, I heard a menacing growl and felt breath on the back of my neck. I spun 180, flung my arm into the bathroom, and turned the light on. Whatever it was gone. As a few months went by, the entity would become more menacing, banging on the door to our room, breaking every Mary statue in the house, and moving things in the kitchen. We told our friends the weird things that were happening, and they hooked us up with someone that claimed they could exorcise whatever it was. At this point, I am skeptical, but I humor them. She shows up and walks in the house, turns around and walks out. She didn't say anything to us as she walked to her car. "Hey, what the hell?" She replied, "I can't help you. Leave that house be." The last night there, I heard voices in the kitchen and what sounded like the door opening to the side of the house. I grabbed my gun thinking someone was breaking in. We lived in a pretty bad neighborhood for the cheaper rent. I walked down the hallway and saw a light on and off, and what sounded like things were getting moved, pots and pans banging, cabinet doors, etc. I hopped in front of the entry to the kitchen and pointed my gun, yelling to get out of my house. What I saw I will never forget. The cabinets were opening and slamming, chairs moving, and the refrigerator opening and closing, the source of the intermittent light. There was nothing in the kitchen. I ran back to the bedroom and slammed the door, locking it. As I did, a large bang and the door physically moved inward. When we woke up in the morning, the house was in disarray. We packed what we could and left immediately, never going back.
Okay, so that's for the bonus file. The demon that killed physics. Finally, a logical choice. If I ever encounter anything remotely close to a whole kitchen spazzing out like that, cabinets and the like, refrigerator door opening and closing, I am never going back to that place. I wouldn't even have spent the night. I would just have booked it, run out naked in the street if I need to. No. It's like those memes of insects invading a home, like there's spiders in a corner or something. You burn it with fire. And hell, maybe even that has an impact on whatever spirits are bound to that place. Fire is cleansing. And then you had that girl your friends recommended, some sort of priest maybe? I don't know if she was charging money, but even so, the fact that she wouldn't or couldn't cleanse whatever was there is one of the scariest lines I've ever read. If it is a scam, well, they wouldn't pretend they couldn't do it, because then they make no money. If they really believe that they can, and then they go to a place that's so evil that they don't even want to try, leave the home, there's nothing I can do. Either way, that's terrifying. I do wonder if demons in the biblical sense exist, or if it's only angry spirits bound to a location. If the former, where do demons come from? Is it a mythos similar to Supernatural, where demons are spirits sent to hell, and then twisted by unfathomable torture over eons, and as such turned into demons? True evil that was inflicted on them over centuries or millennia. I really don't know. I suppose it doesn't matter much to us. What we do know is there are entities fueled by anger that can bind to areas, and if they want out, best to oblige them. Get out. And now time for the quote of the day. The heights by great men reached and kept were not attained by sudden flight, but they, while their companions slept, were toiling upward in the night. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. So what does this signify? It means that those who achieve greatness, they don't necessarily have the most talent or they're not the smartest people, they're simply the most determined. They're the people who will toil away at night when other people are sleeping and get more work done, grind out themselves more. And there's a point where it goes to an extreme, where you have this self-help culture now where tons of funny memes about it, where unless you're up at like 1 a.m. and you've bought Twitter by 5 a.m. and you've run a marathon by 9 a.m., that kind of stuff where it's taken to an extreme. I think the core points are good where, not just to earn money, but just to achieve in life. But there's always that middle ground. Put in effort in something that matters to you, and you'll be amazed at where you get. Especially if you compare yourself to most people who just put in enough to get by, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's about asking yourself what you want from life. How much do you want? Do you want to reach the height of Mount Everest? Well, that's going to require more work and more dedication. If you're comfortable where you are with this more simple life, again, nothing wrong with that. That's great. Just know yourself. Really, that's the key. Know yourself and then determine how much you want and then go from there. And just realize, reality, objective reality. If you want a lot more, you're going to have to work harder. And that's okay. So know yourself first. Then you can go from there. I know for myself, I don't need much. I don't need to toil away all the time because all I want is a simple piece of land and a dog and a great view and good food and a cozy cabin with a crackling fire in winter and, coffee and hot chocolate. Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell. Kinetic Symphony signing off.